Hi, this is Priyanka, and I welcome you all to Srijan Wednesday webinars. For those who are attending for the first time, this is a community initiative by Srijan Technologies. As a part of this initiative, we host webinars every alternate Wednesday. We invite speakers from different domains who talk on subjects like front-end technologies, UI/UX, mobile apps, media, entrepreneurship, digital marketing, and many more. In our today's webinar, we will learn strategies that allow you to use your network to grow a sustainable business for yourself rather than just gain social followers. Our speaker will also share some really cool and interesting ways to build your personal brand, followed by which he will share his personal story on how he went from a college student to a blogger with 500,000 monthly readers to building a sustainable business on track to bring in 7 figures this year. I would request all participants to please type in any questions that you have during the presentation, and we'll take them up in the last 15 minutes of this webinar. I would now like to introduce our speaker for today's webinar. We have with us Matt Wilson. Matt is co-founder of Under 30 CEO and Adventure in Residence at Under 30 Experiences. After using social media strategies to land one of his properties, Under 30 CEO, on MSNBC and Business Week, he began building brands. Matt's passion for entrepreneurship began after leading Bryant University to becoming the world's #1 entrepreneurs organization. In a nutshell, Matt does it all. So while you get hooked on to Matt's presentation, don't forget to take this conversation live on Twitter using our hashtag SrijanWW. You can also share your thoughts with us by tagging our Twitter handle @Srijan and with Matt at @MattWilsonTV. So without taking up any more time, let's get started. Matt, over to you.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening in, and Priyanka, thank you for the lovely introduction. My goal for you guys is to not forget me, because I think that is the very most important part of personal branding, and if you want to have any shot of turning that into money, you have to be seriously unforgettable, because what we see right now is everybody just doing the same old boring thing, trying to learn trying to learn these innovative things out of books, and how to grow your personal brand, but they want to look up an article about it and follow the instructions and all of a sudden turn that into some type of money, but they forget about the creativity part. And so I think that's really, really important. So I do not want you guys to forget me, and I'm going to try to make this presentation a little bit more lively, and I think that leads me to my second point, which is I want to have a little bit of fun. And normally I have live audiences, or I'm sitting in the jungle with our travel company, Under 30 Experiences, and you get a real interaction, real face-to-face type type experience, as we call it. We say that we're not a travel company, we're an experience company, and it really says a lot about who the people are that run our company, Under 30 Experiences, and we try to have that translated to every piece of content that we put out on the internet, including our blog at Under 30 CEO. So Priyanka, thank you for dealing with me and my unconventional ways, as well as Priyanka told me I could not have any pets in the room, and I have not seen my golden retriever Jake in 5 months, and he snuck in here. So Priyanka, if you hear a dog barking, please, please, please have some compassion because I miss Jake, and also he's 15 years old and he's sleeping, so he won't be any bother, don't worry. All right, so let's kick it off with an entrepreneur's guide to building their personal brand. I usually don't go off of slides, but this is all available for download, and Priyanka can get you that, as well as the Under 30 Experiences Escape Manual. And that is free to all of you guys. I am just giving it away. It's an ebook that I wrote about going out and living your dreams and traveling and being able to work from anywhere and build a business. So that is escapemanual.under30experiences.com. And there's actually a ton of links in this presentation. I hope that they're all working. Yeah, so you guys can click any of that stuff. And they're all examples. I'm not trying to be overly self-promotional here, but I do want to give you examples because that's the only experience that I have is my own. I've tried to build brands for other people with various degrees of success, but it really all comes down to being yourself. So I'm going to move on with my slides here. Snappy one-liner is what the lovely host of the webinar decided I needed, and so my snappy one-liner is stop being boring. Here is a lovely picture of myself in Costa Rica with my cool camouflage Nikes swinging from a vine in the rainforest, and I want to build something for myself that people are going to remember and that is unconventional, that's not boring. We sit in front of these stupid computers all the time, and if you're listening to this, you're probably like, what? Computers? I go to webinars that has all the world's information at your fingertips, and sure, that's great and all, but most people don't actually get outside and do anything. They just get sucked into this little chatterbox of social media, going back around in circles, and they never actually build anything, or they never actually take time to be creative, take time to be innovative. And I cannot stress enough that if you want to have a brand that is just run-of-the-mill, okay, I make my LinkedIn profile, okay, I make my Google Plus profile, you know, okay, what should I do? How should I accept social, you know, should I accept friend requests from work people, and should I be an open networker and accept anyone's request, or should I keep that private? All right, I can certainly give you my opinions on all of that stuff, but really the value that I can provide to this community is doing things a little bit differently and the more creative right brain stuff. So, you know, I realized that after school, and I'll work in my personal story a little bit into this, but I realized that after school, I graduated from college, built this website with my co-founder, Jared O'Toole, at under30co.com to about 500,000 readers, and then we thought, well, hell, we just sit in front of computers all day. How boring is this? And so, unfortunately, well, actually, very fortunately, there's nothing unfortunate about this other than we wasted so much time behind a computer. But we had built brands for ourselves by being authentic, by being transparent, by being honest with people, and that's what lacks in the world today, is just people truly being themselves, truly being in touch with themselves. Most people don't understand who they are or why they're on this planet or what they're doing. And sure, we went through a lot of iterations and we're constantly moving and growing. But the first step into building a personal brand is asking yourself, well, who the hell am I? What do I want to stand for? What do I want to do here with my short time on this planet? Because that is most important. And my snappy one-liner, again, is stop being boring. But seriously, slides are usually boring. What the internet needs is more creativity and innovation, as I just explained. The big ideas are going to come from people who can disconnect from their cellular devices and their social media and stop worrying about their social brand, their social media so much and their personal brand so much, and actually do some stuff. I don't know if I can swear on this, but I'm gonna say do shit. You know, it's that important. And less cats. Get out of here, cats. All right, so here's what I came down to. Everything simplified on one page. So I recently wrote an article, actually yesterday it got published on under30co.com, about a creativity rut that I was in, and it dealt with you're using your left brain versus using your right brain. And I'm sure you guys are a little bit familiar with this, but your left brain is the logical side, your mathematical side, the computation side, the one who says drive in between the lines, the one who says file your expense reports, the one who takes care of your accounting and does all those necessary things that it takes to run a business. And so I think a lot of people probably showed up to this webinar wanting to know what social media platforms are best for me to build my personal brand. Well, you know what? Figure that out for yourself, because everybody is different, and ask yourself, what's me? Do I like posting pictures on Instagram? All right, then do that. You know, and there's millions of articles about conversions and how these things lead to sales, because that's the most important thing, is how do you drive traffic. As Priyanka mentioned, sure, gaining followers is great. You know, I have over 20,000 Twitter followers. Big effing deal. Who cares? How does that convert into people? You know, I collected most of those when our website was at its peak and when Twitter was the new hot thing in 2009, and probably those people aren't even on Twitter. I don't care. I don't really. I care about the people who are close to me. I care about our super fans. I care about the people who are who I really know, who I can build a relationship with online, who can truly trust me. And so if that is a tribe of only 1,000 people who are actually going to buy, that's amazing, because 1,000 people buying a trip, which is the business that I'm in our travel business, 1,000 people buying $1,000 something trip, okay, well, that is a lot of money. So that's what we're trying to build. And yes, you want to spray far and wide with your social media platform. Yeah, you want to go on Instagram, and guess what? Somehow the link isn't working to my, oh, it is. If you click that photo, you will see, you know, I linked up all this stuff so that you guys could really see what I do and how I do it, and you can study that. And so if you want to, you know, look at, okay, well, how does Matt promote himself, and how does Matt promote the business, which are one and the same because they're completely in alignment, which I will get to that. But yeah, you can look at all the little tips for photos, right? You can see that I put the maximum 30 hashtags on Instagram, and then I do research about you know, what hashtags do best, and for what destination, and how I can target those followers. And that sprays a very wide, large net to thousands and thousands and thousands of people on the internet. But what I care about is bringing them into my sales funnel, and then start to give them content that they can trust, that they can love, that's likable, that is relatable to them, that they can understand, that they get value out of. That's the most important thing. So you can go ahead and look at the work that I do on Instagram and how I take the best pictures possible. Actually, we have a professional photographer who does photo and video for us, who comes on all of our trips. And you know, this over the coming next couple months, you know, right now she's in Costa Rica taking photos and making video and making content, and we're trying to put a name and a face to our brand Under 30 Experiences, because this is something that actually changes people's lives when they come on a trip. And I can proudly say that. I'm not just fluffing it, oh, it's a life thing, changing thing, blah, blah, blah. No, this is the real deal. People see part of the world. People you know, people get to go into small villages and understand different cultures. People get to make lifelong friends. People get to get outside of their comfort zone, and that's all really important. But then we want to translate to online content, and that, by the way, that online persona should be the same damn person that you are in real life. Because if it's not, then you have a misalignment. Then you can't stand completely behind everything that you do. So I'm going to give you more examples of how it works for my business, and then it's up to you guys to be able to go and do this for your own business. Because if it doesn't, you know, you're not just going to be able to copy me and do what I do, right? And you're not just going to be able to read this out of a book and say, like, oh, well, I'm in the blah, blah, blah technology business. This is how I should be known as a thought leader here. No, you can use all of this left brain stuff, like how am I going to put my social media platform and become an influence, you know, put some piece of content out there that helps other people with their, you know, SEO or whatever technology that you're into. Sure, you can totally do that, right? But that's all left brain. That's all left brain stuff. That's all, you know, by the book stuff. But where I think I can provide value is helping you guys decide, well, what is it that I want to do? So, so yes, social media platforms are your sales funnel. So you want to put a piece of content out. Again, like I said, that helps people solve a problem. So whatever it is, you know, that's what businesses do. They help solve people's problems. And if you are a problem solver, your personal brand should stand for that you actually solve problems, because then it goes back to what I just said about alignment. If you are in perfect alignment with your business, then things are going to start to fall into place. If there's demand for that, of course, right? So if you're solving a problem that nobody cares about, well, then you should probably look for another problem, or look for, if you can't find that market under a rock, well, that's tough. So, okay, on to video. Yes, for a while I was doing a video blog. I'm going to bring that back, but that helped put a face to a name. Now I'm not just Matt Wilson. What I'm actually going to start to do is, in all of my blog posts that I write, like you saw that one on right brain versus left brain, I'm going to do a video in the beginning and be like, hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt. This is just what I was thinking. If you like it, here are the main points. Check it out. That's another piece of searchable content on YouTube that people then can fall into our sales funnel. So again, a face. I'm the guy that picked people up for 3 years at the airport. Yes, now we've built a business to a place where we're bigger than that, and you might not just get me, but you still get personal emails from me, like I said down here with the newsletter. And so again, our first travelers, and I don't mean just first, I mean our first 20, 40, 50, 100 travelers were people who knew me and trusted me for the most part, you know, as well as other team members. And so we run, one of the things I didn't put up here is our meetups. You know, I know that my strength is in person, that I can be in a room and have presence and be able to make friends with people, allow them to trust me, be transparent, tell them what I care about, learn about them, listen, which is a very big art that nobody ever pays attention to. Those are the soft skills. Those are more right brain skills. And you know, then you can start to get them into your sales funnel. You get to develop a relationship with them. Oh, you met someone at an event. Okay, well, yeah, networking is great. And especially if you're the host of the meetups, well, now we have 25 different cities where we've hosted meetups in the United States, as well as Canada. And these people all signed up for that. Well, now we're building a list. Now they came to one of our meetups. Now they hear from us in the newsletter, and you know, hear from me, and I represent the team. And so they get to know a little bit more about my personality, and that personality then trickles down into our company culture, and that company culture, right, then translates into what type of experience you're going to have on the ground with our travel company. And so all these things, you know, they started with a personal brand. They started with me just going to a ton of events. They started with me just blogging, and that's, you know, an amazing way to be able to connect with people on a mass level. And then you need to have something, again, that they convert to. And for me, my sales funnel, what I want everybody to convert to is the email list, because that's permission marketing, as Seth Godin would say. That's push marketing. They just give you permission to have an email in their inbox. You contact them. They didn't go on Twitter and, you know, or I guess Twitter is a little bit pushed, but they have to log on to Twitter. Email's not going away, and you get that because it's simple, it's easy, and they get an email from me. And guess what? If I can have my creativity flowing and I can get them to open that email, which is even more important, if I can say something unconventional, if I can say something, you know, that's me, if I can talk to them like a trusted friend, that is the right brain stuff. So again, everything simplified on this one page. You have what is on the left side here. And another great tip is share what you know with a white paper, and that's what I did with you guys in the very beginning and in the very end. Is, you know what, we built something. I built with the help of my team this ebook that provides a lot of value. How to get out from behind your desk, travel the world, work remotely, what challenges you're going to face. It's a bunch of jam-packed inspirational content, and what do? I give it away at escapemanual.under30experiences.com so that you guys then get into our sales funnel. But you were happy to, because you just were provided something free, something that's going to add value to your life, and you're going to get to know the personality, again, of my personal brand and of our company by reading that. And once you know, it's just like when you get done with a good book. You read that and you're like, man, I feel like I know that author. I feel like I really can relate to that story. That guy's my favorite, you know? Well, what most authors don't do is they don't have anything to sell. And that's unfortunate, because writing books is not a very good, you know, unless you're selling millions of books, which is the 0.0001% or something probably of books. What are you really, you know, it's a tough way to make money. So we have a high-priced item where we can make lots of cash flow. And sure, you read our ebooks or you read our blogs, you feel like you're related, you feel like you trusted us, and then after you might hear from us 5 or 6 times and then really developed a big relationship, then you might travel. We get on the phone with every single one of our travelers, and Jared gets on there, and he's a customer service specialist. He's there to guide you through your trip every step of the way, and that's his personal brand. That's what it says right on his bio on Under 30 Experiences. His personal, you know, that he's the customer service specialist, and it's almost a little bit of a joke, very, very laid back, because he'll, you know, he's the guy that's going to follow up with you and say, yeah, you didn't sign your waiver. Hey, why haven't you sent me your flight information? All of that. But that's because we go above and beyond in everything that we do. So, yes, get them into your sales funnel. I can't stress that enough. Now, right brain stuff, the creativity stuff, asking yourself who you are, asking yourself how are you going to add value to the world. Think about that right now while I take a drink of water. Actually, I'm taking a drink of almond milk. How are you going to add value to the world? If you don't know that right off the bat, you have to think about that. You know, that should be, because when you do have an intensely mission-driven purpose, then this stuff comes easy. Then you wake up every morning and you're pumped about what you do. Then you say, wow, I can really get up and change the world today. Or, hey, there are people on here. If I don't get out of bed, people are relying on me. And that's a great mental hack. You know, sure, it plays to your ego. It says, get your ass out of bed, you're important. Well, okay, but it can't just be from the external world. It has to be from internally. What what it comes from you. Does that really make you happy, right? So what content will you then put out that are going to make people say wow when they see your brand? So if you're just another boring technology, it's really tough to do, right? So yes, I'm focused very much on B2C because I like people. I'm a people person. And a lot of this might not be relevant to the B2B industry, but just think of like the personal branding basics. When you walk into a room, what are you wearing? Like, I have long flowing hair, and people are going to remember that. You know, I wear a certain type of clothing that people are going to remember. Dhani Jones, right? He's a former NFL football player and now sportscaster. He has a multi-million-dollar bow tie company. Well, guess what? He wears a bow tie everywhere. You see this huge dude with a bow tie, and you're like, oh, that's Dhani Jones. He is very memorable. And that can work in B2B too. If you are thinking, not to use another cliche, but if you're thinking outside the box and you put up, you write an article and post it to your LinkedIn and it goes to all your B2B connections, well, what did you write in that title that's going to, A, make sure that you got value, or make sure that the people who are reading this got value, and B, what's going to make them click? What's going to make them remember you? And so that can be both online and offline. And again, those things should totally be in alignment. So, and the last thing that I really want to say about that is stop competing with your peers. Look around. You guys probably know the 5 people that you surround yourself with are the 5 people that you are most like. Well, don't think of like the assholes from high school to compete with. Like, oh yeah, I'm really better. I have X amount of money in the bank. I'm better than these guys who grew up in my hometown from the same circumstances, whatever. Or right, or like, oh yeah, I'm competing against these people who are my peers in the entrepreneur blogger space. Or how am I going to compete against other people who put on retreats, because it's getting very popular now, right? Tons of bloggers have retreats. Well, most of those bloggers are doing 1 every other year, 2, right? Which is great. I'm not down talking them, but we're going to do over 50 this year. Okay, that's a big business, but that's not because I looked at my peers. That's because I said, who's doing this the best in the world, and how can we build a world-class travel company? So if you're going to build something, build it world-class, because at the very top of the competitive hierarchy, at the top of your game, there are very few people. Most people say, oh, I want to beat the kid down the street in basketball or in soccer. Well, no, I want to be the best in the world, or at least to be able to play on that level. And so think of your brand. How are people really going to remember me, so that I can, I think of like, how can I emulate Richard Branson? I don't think about how can I emulate, the most successful kid from my high school class. So stop competing with your peers, compete with the best in the world. And look at this, a bonus. So I wanted to talk to you guys about what is your trademark. I kind of covered a little bit of this, but I want you guys to have some ideas for what you can do, like the Dhani Jones bow tie, like my long hair, like when you read my articles, you feel like I'm writing to you like I'm writing to a trusted friend. I'm telling you secrets. I'm telling you things that most people don't know about me. Actually, it's funny. I sometimes have internal conflict because I write to stuff on this anonymous blogosphere. I write about stuff that going through and lessons that I've learned where my friends, oftentimes I don't post it to Facebook because I'm like, do I have to tell the same old, like those friends from high school, right, or those friends from college about this stuff, because they're totally not going to relate. And so sometimes I have that type of internal conflict where I'm like, all right, I'm so honest and open with people online, I need to then work on that in my own life, and again continue to fall into alignment with that, because if your personal brand is phony or fake or the just a little tiny most bit inauthentic, if you don't truly say what you mean in every step of action, if you're not as honest as possible with people, people know that, and people respect that. And just like I said to Priyanka, hey, my dog's in my room with me. Well, you know what? Or I complimented Priyanka the other day or earlier, and she thought I was being sarcastic. No, I was being genuine. But if you're not genuine all the way from your personal brand to what your product actually is, then people are going to sniff that out. So I try to really add a lot of, and again, I live in a different world, right? Like, I live in Costa Rica all winter. I'm going to Brazil on Friday, and I get to travel, and I don't have to show up to an office or ever wear a suit. I have to go to a wedding, so I'll wear a suit then. But I want to be completely myself, and you might be listening to this and be like, all right, well, this guy's crazy. I don't aspire to any of this. I need to wear a suit, and I need to sit behind a computer, and that's great, but you can still think of your trademark. So one of my trademarks, I use a lot of emojis. They're stupid. They're friendly. They give a little bit of personality. It might look a little bit obnoxious online, but that's fine. That's who I am. Okay, so subject line. By just using these parentheses, increase my open rate by 75%. So I would just write awesome video, and people would click that because they would think it would be an awesome video. So I would write, so this would be this is a sample subject line, in parentheses, awesome video. These parentheses increase my open rate 75%, right? If you got that in your inbox, you would click it, because it says these parentheses increase my open rate 75%. I'm sharing a secret with you. I relate it to myself, so my open rate, I actually did this. This is, again, building trust with the audience. I'm going to share something with you. By opening this email, this is what value you will get. And awesome video, that's just like, I don't even know why I started doing that, but people wrote me back and said the only reason I opened this because it said awesome video. And guess what? It was awesome, because I'm not going to tell people it's awesome if it's not, because they're going to know you're full of shit, and then they're not going to open your emails anymore. So be yourself. I think I've covered that. Be honest, be transparent, and pour your heart out. I can't remember what I linked up. Oh, I wrote an open letter to under 30 CEO readers, and people love that. Like, the best articles on under 30 CEO, the ones with the most engagement, because again, that's what I go after. I go after engagement. I don't just go after, what hit BuzzFeed, because who cares? Those people don't know me well enough to be able to take trips with us. But once you get into our sales funnel, once you've read something that I've written, once you've heard me pour my heart out about something, well, then you're going to be able to relate to that. Then you're going to come on a trip, and then guess what? You're going to tell 10 friends, and it's been a wild, wild ride over the last couple of years, but guess what? People are coming to us for word of mouth. So that's really big. Again, gaining that trust. So creativity. Good content trumps all. Again, you might be in an old, boring industry, but guess what? Those old, boring industries are probably going away. There are probably things that you can do every day. I look at the world and I say, all right, this is going to change. right? Like, look at automobiles. Okay, sure, you might not be the you might not be the B2C guy. You might not be the guy who pushes cars. You might not be the car salesman with the ad on TV and the billboard and the personal brand and the radio show, like Car Talk and the YouTube series and all of this. You could do that if you were a used car salesman, right? But the guys who are really making money are these these B2B people, probably. So if you're a B2B guy, well, what is it that you can do to be able to help other people who are in your industry and get creative? If you look at the auto industry, why don't you start talking about future trends? I mean, come on, we're not all going to drive cars anymore. We're not all going to own cars anymore. We're not going to go into debt because of our automobiles anymore. There's going to be an amazing high frequency network of automobiles in all the major cities that are all going to drive themselves, and you're going to call them like Uber, and they're going to pick you up, and there's not going to be any driver in it, and you're never going to get in an accident anymore. They're all going to be electric, so we're not going to pollute the earth anymore, and this is all just going to be operating by ourselves. There's no reason that we all have cars, right? We can all just take advantage of the shared economy, and then we're just, then my car goes next door and picks up my neighbor because he scheduled it, and it picks him up and brings him somewhere, and that is the kind of stuff that we need to be thinking about, that creativity, that innovation, and that's what I really encourage everybody's personal brand. I know that was a long rant about the automobile industry, but that's the kind of stuff that people need to be trying to do. I mean, entrepreneurs predict the future. Think about that for a second. You try to predict the future, and then you try to execute on it. That's what you should want your brand to be known as. And don't call yourself a visionary. Don't be stupid. Don't let other people say nice things about you. If you're on my LinkedIn and you say that what's your job title and you say visionary, I'm probably going to be unconnecting with you very soon. Just to throw that out there. I'm just kidding, but seriously, that's how I feel. And I'm not afraid to tell people how I feel. Now, it's easier to tell people how you feel online. It's a little bit harder to say that to somebody's face, but, you don't want to offend people. But, again, what was my goal? For you guys to remember me, and hopefully you do. So, moving on, I talked about long hair, blah, blah, blah. Spice up your bio. What Priyanka failed to read was the lovely piece of my bio that said, when Matt is around, his long hair is flowing freely in the breeze. I know I keep going on about this long hair, but that was actually written. I actually had a fun exercise that I did with my co-founder, Jared, and we did this years ago. And I said, you know what? I don't quite feel comfortable boasting about myself, and neither do you. So let's write each other's bio. And in Jared's bio, which I don't know if if it stuck, I said, at Ithaca College, Jared could be found late nights eating DP dough and pumping tunes by hit artists such as NSYNC and Backstreet Boys. Okay, it was a funny, stupid little thing to lighten things up, but my hair was short, but everyone still made fun of it, and he put when Matt is around, his long hair is flowing freely in the breeze, and it is stuck since about 2008. Well, that, again, is going to be something that, sure, like you heard all that crap about MSNBC, Business Week, and whatever, right? Are you going to remember that? No, it's to add credibility. And again, yes, you want to have a good time, but you want to say, how am I credible? Because that was one of the most difficult things about our business, was saying, okay, we bring people to Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Peru and Machu Picchu, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, Bali, Indonesia, Iceland, Ireland. I mean, when you hear these places, you're like, wait, this guy is going to keep me safe on a glacier in Iceland, or they're going to say, this guy is going to be the one feeding me indigenous teas in Machu Picchu when I get altitude sickness, or this guy is the one who is going to pick me up from the airport in Latin America that I hear is very dangerous. Okay, so we had to build credibility. So yeah, I've talked a lot about being a jokester, and that's all well and good. So, but you want to have enormous credibility, right? And if you can get those big press mentions, yeah, of course. That's why Priyanka opened this webinar with that, is because she wanted to make you guys say, listen up, this guy's been featured somewhere big. And yeah, that's great, right? Like, you know, I have an author account at the Huffington Post, or we have all sorts of big time, you know, we got named in the New York Sunday Times. Like, that's, yes, a very big deal. But again, that's only for credibility, and it helps people, again, trust you. So spice up your bio, credibility, credibility, credibility. Why is this person good? But guess what? Everyone's probably as credible as you, unless you're the best in the world. And then if you are, then you're playing in the right ball game, and then you can spice something up. And by the way, when you get that good, your reputation precedes you. You are that good, so it doesn't matter. You can just do your thing, and you don't have to make a big deal. Leading with your mission. I know I talked a lot about this, about your alignment, but it comes down to your work-life balance as I wrap things up here. If you're worried about what your work-life balance is, and I do stress about this also, but my life is, again, integrated to what our mission is, what our company's mission is. And so if Under 30 Experiences' mission is to make travel more accessible to young people, there was a point where I had to sit down with Jared, my co-founder, and say, look, man, like, I need to go and travel the world and work from my laptop, because we talk about this stuff online. We try to sell people the dream of coming and escaping the cubicle. Well, I needed to escape myself. I need to be in alignment. I need to be able to go surfing after work. I need to be able to go and hike volcanoes whenever I want to. And that work-life balance problem then starts to get solved when you're completely in alignment. Now, again, if you're the SEO guy, you're probably struggling with this right now. And yes, you need time out from in front of the computer, but you better love what you do, because life is too short not to. So if you have a work-life balance problem, start thinking about what are your values and what do you want to spend your time doing? What can you contribute most to the world? What can I stand for? So this is more than personal branding. This has just been almost personal development. And yeah, there's a lot of social media platforms and pieces of content that you can put out on the web and be able to, you know, and speaking engagements and webinars that you can put on, and all of these pieces of content that you can then tell people about what you stand for. But at the end of the day, it's about who you are and what you want to do, and then just following through and executing. And so all that left brain stuff, all the logistics, that can all be learned. All the right brain stuff, all the creative things about really discovering what it is that you want to do, that's the hard part. So hopefully this gave you a little bit of insight into that, and I'd like to open it up to questions, because I want to see you guys, you know, really excel at this stuff. I want to see you guys really be able to live out something that you're passionate about and spread that mission with everybody else in the world. Thank you, guys.
Well, thank you so much, Matt, that was a great session. And thanks for sharing these brilliant ideas and tips on personal branding. I'm pretty sure your presentation got the creative juices in people flowing. And a special thanks to you for giving me so much credit for your presentation and stirring up my humanity by mentioning your golden retriever there. That was very smart. Moving on, I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions. So please press the raise hand button on your control panel if you want to ask your question using your microphone, or you can type your questions in the chat box below. So while our participants here type in questions, let me get started on them. So Matt, my first question for you would be, if someone is completely new to this concept of personal branding, where and how do they start?
I would just honestly, I would go to Under 30 CEO and I would search personal branding. There are tons of articles. There's a guy who runs a personal branding blog. I think it's personalbrandingblog.com. I have some friends who I worked in a co-working space called Brand Yourself, and those guys will actually do it for you, but I mean the left brain stuff. That is the stuff they're going to be able to say, yeah, sure, I can get you set up on Twitter, and I can make sure that your search engine results are up to date. I can make sure that you show up ahead of people on your rankings, but you got to do some work for yourself before you get into, all right, putting the pen to paper or putting yourself out there. You got to just do some exercises and say, like, hey, who the hell am I? What do I really want to do? And what product can make me money off of all this? What am I selling? Because I had the problem for a very long time where I just collected Twitter followers. I just collected page views. And sure, we made money off of advertising once you get to hundreds of thousands of views. But nothing like we're doing now, and nothing like the impact that we're making now. So ask yourself, what do I want to stand for is the absolute most important thing, and what unique value can I provide the world, and how can I share that with others?
All right, thank you so much for that answer. Our next question would be, since you mentioned that being genuine is very imperative, and you also made a suggestion there where you said that one should spice up their bio, right? So I feel there's a very thin line there that one may easily cross. Do you have any pointers or recommendation to keep in mind when people are spicing things up so they don't sound really ungenuine or fake?
I would just say, have fun with it, but know your audience. That's probably the most important thing, is know who's going to be reading this, because a lot of I deal with people who are my own age. We have a brand called Under 30, so you can imagine how old our audience is. The most important thing is knowing your audience, and yeah, I swear a little bit, and now that I just thought about it, oh, maybe the audience is is not open to that, right? But at least people are going to know that I'm trying to be myself through and through, and but yeah, you want to be conscious of the people who are going to be read that, and what's the goal? What do you want to get out of someone's bio? Or what do you want to get out of your bio, right? So do you want this person to call you for web design? All right, then make sure that it reads like that. But trying to come up with a creative hook, because I don't usually read people's bios because they're boring and it's just a bunch of blah, blah, blah. I'd rather call the person and say, all right, what do you care about? So also, integrating what your mission is into that is really important, because as Priyanka mentioned about humanity, I forget exactly what word you use, but making it human is very important, because if it just sounds like blah, 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 like Charlie Brown's mom, well, then you're just using a bunch of big words and nobody can understand it anyway. So humanize yourself, and I think that is a big deal in that boring, especially in more boring industries like B2B. If you humanize things, people are going to be like, oh God, I've been trapped in this cubicle all day. Finally, I can talk to a real person. That really goes a long way, and people are going to be willing to pay you for that, to have that relationship with you.
All right, so our next question is by Shailesh, who wants to know, what is imperative for credibility? And education, a long list of achievements, a bio which showcases your experience of working with top brands. Exactly what?
So credibility, you know, when it comes down to it, I think it's the unconventional answer would be, what can this person do for me? But that's the goal, right? But credibility is more, what has this person done for others so that he can then help me? How is that going to translate? And sure, throwing words like Harvard and Business Week and whatever, national news or best-selling author, like best-selling, I think everyone who's ever written a book is best-selling if it sold 3 copies. You know, everyone writes best-selling author. So a lot of that is fluff, and people can read through that, and that's why boring. That's why bios are just kind of, bios and resumes are not as important as they used to be. But yeah, sure, like that's on the top of under30experiences.com. Yeah, we have our links to CNN and Mashable and New York Times and Forbes, and I'm trying to think of other places that we've been mentioned, Huffington Post. So yeah, those are great pieces of credibility. But think about who your target is and what's going to press them. And also, you know, in the corporate world, people still really care about where you went to school only because it sets you apart from other people. You've already been judged by others, and they have a huge stack of papers on your resume. So they have a huge stack of resumes on their desk, so they're just going to try to sort through them as quickly as possible. And if they have a couple eye-catching words like Harvard and, you know, Forbes on the article or on your resume, that's what's going to get you the most credibility when it comes down to it. So, but I really like to humanize things.
All right, great advice, Matt. We have a really interesting question by Akhil. So you mentioned again, we have a question related to genuinity. So Akhil wants to know that a lot of times our real personality is not good enough to draw audiences online, and it's not working. Basically, our online personality or our brand. So to what extent do we need to manipulate and redefine our online strategy, and does it actually work in the long run?
That's an interesting thought, especially because I think that, you know, I don't have an extreme personality, but I definitely don't have a boring one, and that comes more natural to me. And I've also, it comes natural, but I've also worked at, you know, just being more open and being who I really want to be. But yeah, you see these online personalities, right, with millions of views and all this crap. Well, people can tell that that's not really them. Or if you're like the crazy reality TV person, people know that you're not being genuine. But it's more about the relationship building. It's more about how can you get someone to trust you. And again, it's not about getting millions of views, right? It's about getting a couple hundred people to trust you enough to buy your product. And if it's priced right, that can be a lot of money. And so that's what I think it's most important is, sure, yeah, attracting attention is great, and those are going to be your YouTube celebrities. But most YouTube celebrities don't know how to make money. And so you don't need millions of views and a crappy product. What you need is a couple people who really understand how solid your product is and know you and trust you and like you, and you have something kick-ass that you can stand behind. And then, you know, your content and your product trumps all. If your marketing is really good, right? Marketing is getting the attention and being the promoter. Well, good products don't need hype. So that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. And you can tell, you know, a lot of times good companies actually are only driven by charismatic leaders, and in that case there's room for disruption, there's room for innovation, for someone to come through and call them on that and be like, they're just good marketers, product isn't very good, they just have a leader who can really sell well. and then you can go in and be like, all right, I'm going to build a real product, and I might be a nerd. I might like never see the light of day in my cubicle, but that's okay as long as your product's good.
Okay, so since we are running towards the end of this webinar, we are going to quickly take one last question here. Meanwhile, I would request everybody to please type in or send in any questions that you have to webinars@srijan.in, and we'll get them answered by Matt for you. Our last question is, if you had to redo your personal branding or do it in a different way, how would you do it?
That is a good question. I think I mentioned this earlier, but I would have something rock. I would have in the past had something rock solid to sell, right? To make money with before I started on this whole personal brand crusade. And sure, the crusade, I finally figured it out, right? But before, and building a solid brand is great while you're trying to figure it out, and that's what I was able to do. So yeah, I would have found a really good product and developed that earlier, because otherwise then you're just like making a lot of noise and you don't really have anything so solid to stand behind. And I felt that way for a long time. And so now that I have something really that fits me and really is something good that I can promote, and I can promote myself via it without being overly self-promotional, that's a really good thing. That's very fulfilling also. So having a solid product is what I would have been able to do first, but I don't discourage anybody from promoting themselves and figuring it out as they go along.
All right, so we have this very special request for one last question, so we'll quickly take that up. Vishnu wants to know, how would you start from the scratch? As I probably took that question up in the beginning. So he feels that the beginning is really important for startups. So would you like to give him any more advice on that?
I would say that the beginning isn't that important because you're probably going to fail anyway. I failed so many times. I tested so many different things, and that's a good thing, right? Like test, 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 see what works. Put out content, put out product, try this, try that. Especially, we're not getting any younger, so keep doing these things, and don't worry about it so much. As long as you have a roof over your head and good, healthy food to eat, the rest will come along. And I know it's easy. It sounds like, oh, easy for you to say, dude, but really don't worry about it so much. Keep going for it. Keep trying. And some of the best advice that I ever got was just someone who just said, keep doing what you're doing, man. You'll figure it out. And that has really taken, I think of that still to this day all the time. Just keep doing what you're doing. Consistency, show up every single day.
Great. So we have some really positive feedback for you, and Akhil is thanking you since your answer was really good. So
Excellent.
yeah, thank you once again, Matt, for such a quirky and knowledgeable session. We are pretty sure everybody found your presentation very interesting and insightful. Big thank you to all the attendees for joining us today. Before we close, I would also like to announce that our next webinar, titled How to Manage Emergencies in a Lean and Scrum Team, would be hosted on 13th of May, where we would be covering new approaches and ideas for agile teams to deal with different emergencies next to the regular work. This webinar would be led by Avinash Shiralage, who is an agile coach with over 17 years of experience in handling Scrum and Lean teams. For registrations and more details, you'll be getting a mail from our site soon. So stay tuned, and thank you again for joining us today.